Who is here with us this morning. Oh, we got our little recording box, so everyone got it. There we go. Um, so welcome again, and thanks for joining us this morning for our very important webinar on employee retention. As our team at the Chamber has been speaking with our membership, the number one problem we've been hearing is staffing, which is not only relating to hiring issues, but also issues with retaining their existing staff. So we're really excited about this important event. If you have any questions throughout the program, you can feel free to add those in the chat box, and we will have time for Q&A at the end. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our wonderful speakers for today's presentation. First up is Anna Leash. She's a talent acquisition specialist at Harkins Builders located in Columbia, Maryland. Anna has a passion for connecting and building relationships, and she's very involved in the community. She's currently serving on the board of the Friends and Foundation of the Howard County Library System. Her company, Harkins Builders, was founded in Howard County in 1965 and literally helped build Columbia. They built all of the multifamily housing in the downtown area. Harkins is an employee-owned company, and after 60 years in business, now has offices in Pennsylvania, North and South Carolina, in addition to their headquarters in downtown Columbia. So thanks, Anna, for being here.
Thank you.
Next up is Cindy Mitchell. She is the founder of Blue Flare, which is located in Columbia, Maryland. Blue Flare was created to provide innovative staffing and recruitment services in a fast and attentive manner. They are a local boutique-style staffing firm supporting the region and are a business solutions partner for their clients. Cindy and the Blue Flare team are incredibly involved in the community, and Cindy serves on the Chamber's Board of Directors. She will be the chair of the board in 2023. She also serves on our Ambassador Committee, our Legislative Committee, and is helping to launch the Chamber's newest initiative, the Women's Leadership Roundtable. So we keep Cindy very busy. Thanks for being here today, Cindy. And last but not least is Mike Camarada. He is the vice chairman of our board of directors and will be our chairman of the board next year. He is a certified financial planner and a partner at Tide Creek Financial Group, a local financial planning firm in Columbia, Maryland. Mike has 15 years of experience in financial services and does financial planning for business owners and households. Mike has a unique perspective working with small business owners because his parents owned a small business and he is a business owner himself. Besides serving on our board and being our incoming chairman, Mike is also a member of our CEO Roundtable, our Legislative Affairs Committee, and our Business Connection Networking Group. So thank you all again for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we, as you can tell, we have a lot of fun with the Central Maryland Chamber. It has been a blessing in my life, and I'm sure that both Anna and Mike feel the same way. So we want to get started and talking about the Great Resignation and tips for what you can do now as we are kind of figuring this all out. I wish that, we could be in person for the event to really talk in depth about the struggles that we're all having right now, and not just attracting talent, but retaining them and retaining the interests of workers. I think part of it is because people have lots of options. I think the other part of it is that people are reevaluating what's really important to them. So my expert colleagues are going to talk with you. I've got questions. I will moderate this portion of the event just to really get into their heads, because they are at the top of their game in their fields. And I want you to hear from them. So before we get started, I want to talk about the job statistics that are just right in front of us right now in our face. And the first is, and these statistics are coming from the Department of Labor, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and these are current numbers. So in September, the U.S. gained 194,000 jobs, which was okay. It was kind of mediocre, if you will. August was very similar. I think combined it was 234,000 together between August and September. But in October, we saw great number gain, and that was 531,000. So that was really a great sign of hope, because when you look at how many open jobs there are right now in the US, there are over 10 million jobs that are open. And so we're finding that people are shuffling, right? We also have a really large number of people who are unemployed and underemployed, and that number is not shown in our chart here. So we don't actually know that number of underemployed, but we know that that number is quite grand. So right now we have 7.4 million people that are still unemployed at the beginning of November. So that's telling us that there are many different reasons why people are not working. And some people might believe that it's one factor, but I think what you'll find that both Anna and Mike are going to talk about in a little bit, that there's multiple reasons why. And as employers, or those of you that represent employers, it's really important to know so that when you're addressing your candidates, as well as your current staff, what are some of the reasons that people are looking and are currently evaluating other opportunities. It'll make more sense. It's not just one factor, it's many things happening at the same time. All right, so next slide. I'm going to start with our good friend, Mike Camarada. So Mike, as a financial planner, I know that your clients have been calling you a lot this year. I know your phone rings all the time. So what are some of the types of problems that you are hearing from your clients?
Well, thank you, Cindy. So I have I don't want to say unique perspective, but my perspective is multifaceted. Because I do planning with both employers, business owners, as well as individuals. So the problems that I've been hearing, or some of the things that I'm experiencing through my clients, it's multifaceted. But I would say in terms of employers, and regardless of industry, besides the reopening policy around COVID-19, the major pain point is retaining and attracting employees. I'm hearing it in all my calls with my employer clients, and that is really their biggest pain point right now.
I can imagine, definitely. And I'm sure that that has probably led to some lengthy conversations, with you. And because you're also sharing, what your findings are from other people that you work with, other businesses as well. So can you give us a little bit of idea of maybe the, I guess the biggest complaint outside of just finding people that your customers or your clients are saying to you?
Yeah, I would just say the biggest complaint so the good news is that the employer clients that I'm working with, the revenue and the work is there. They just do not have enough people to fill certain positions. And they have just been struggling to find people or get people to even apply. Mm-hmm. I would say one of the major factors as to why this was happening, as we all know, the federal government, they did unemployment insurance relief in response to COVID-19. And as we all know, for some people, they were making more money being unemployed than they were while they were working. I can't tell you how many times I heard that comment. So there was really no incentive for people to go back to work while the federal government was providing this insurance relief. Now that stopped in September. And I do believe when you went over those statistics, that is one factor as to why we saw much better job numbers from October compared to September.
Yep, great point, definitely. Next slide, Olivia. So this leads into the next question, which is, as we hear about the millions of people, and the jobs that are open right now, why do you believe that our workforce, in your opinion, Mike, is so in flux right at the moment?
So we had a great economic luncheon last week that the chamber was the one who hosted this event. And we had the pleasure of someone coming in from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and he is their lead economist. And he touched on a couple of factors that I have seen firsthand throughout the last year or so. One thing I'm experiencing or seeing is that 2-income households have reduced down to 1. And I think what people have realized is that they don't need the 2 incomes coming in to support their lifestyle. Also, with the fact that kids are homeschooling or they were homeschooling or they're in some sort of hybrid environment, they realized how much they were paying for childcare. And when they looked at their net income versus their expenses to childcare, they realized it's just not worth it. So I think we have seen a lot of 2-income households reducing down to 1. And this is what we saw primarily during the 80s. 2-income households became more and more popular in the 90s and into the 2000s. So I think we've seen a little bit of a reversion back to the 1-income household. Whether that's temporary or not, that remains to be seen. But that is certainly a factor that I am seeing. Another one is early retirement. There are a lot of folks who were, they set a retirement date. And because of COVID, they said, well, you know what? It's just not me worth hanging around for the next year or two. I mean, we were already experiencing very large numbers, the baby boomers transitioning from working into retirement. And COVID just accelerated those numbers. In fact, right now, we anticipate 12,000 people are retiring every day between now and 2023. So that certainly has an impact on the labor market. Another factor is that now most employers have transitioned to some form of a remote work environment, whether that's 100%, whether it's hybrid. But what people are doing is they're relocating to where they really want to live, whether it's due to cheaper cost of living, better opportunities, whatever the factors may be. We do see people relocating. And as we were talking before we started this webinar, I myself now have the ability to travel during the month of January and still work. Prior to COVID, there was no way I would have been able to do that. So because of COVID, it has certainly, once again, accelerated this virtual option to work. And that is creating more opportunities. That's also creating more competition within the labor market. So that's a factor. Another one, which is, I think, good news, and I don't know if it's been quite reflected into the unemployment numbers, but I have seen more people start their own business over the last year than ever before. So I believe COVID has also really put things into perspective for most people and really figuring out like what's important to their life and their lifestyle. And I'm seeing people pursuing their dreams. Their dream may not be to work for an employer, but to own their own business and pursue their own passion. So I know that we have seen record numbers in terms of filings for new businesses over the last year. And that is certainly another factor when it comes to the labor market.
Definitely. That is great news. And I've also been following that as well, especially a lot of our younger population. I'm really excited about that they are, trying to see what else is out there for themselves. And I think that's beautiful, as well as some of our baby boomers as well. They're also taking the chance to start a new business and do things that they want to do. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Okay, thank you, Mike. That's really insightful. And I think many people are starting to kind of put the pieces together in employers where they're thinking, like you mentioned, a lot of people say it's because of the CARES Act, right? A lot of money that was, thrown into our economy to help people, transition as they were laid off for COVID, but that's not the only reason. So you gave us a whole lot of other very real examples of why people have been reluctant, and we're still working through the pandemic. So people in different parts of the country are experiencing more cases of COVID than maybe where we are in Maryland, where it's not as large amount of new cases, and we have very high vaccination rates here. So people are a little bit more confident in going into the workplace. So thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Definitely. Any follow on, Mike?
No, I would say another thing that I'm seeing, and this is more on the personal planning side, is that once again, people, during COVID, they had a time to sit and reflect, and really just evaluate everything in terms of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And what I am seeing now, this may not be true across, every demographic throughout the entire nation, but in terms of the people that I'm working with, they're actually spending less. They're realizing what makes them happy, and a lot of things that they were spending money on were not making them happy. So therefore, if they don't have as many expenses, they don't need as much income. And that really will tie into some talking points that we're going to share later on, but income is not the driving factor anymore. There are many more things that people are looking at and evaluating when it comes to their job, and what they need in terms of their lifestyle.
Yes, and that's why I can't wait to hear Anna talk about that in a little bit, coming from her perspective as a talent acquisition specialist. So yes, I can't wait. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So next slide, Olivia. So we've got a poll question for you. And if we could actually, everybody that is on with us today could put in the chat, what are the methods that you're using to post for your job openings? So just a little bit of plug, the Central Maryland Chamber also has a job board too. So if you haven't visited, if you don't know about it, then we do have it on our website, and I've been using it. I think, Mike, you've been using it. I think everybody should know about it because it's a great way to put your jobs out there. And if you are a member, which I believe everybody that is on with us today is a member, it is complimentary. So can't go wrong with that. But out of the different options that are out there, Indeed, LinkedIn, your website, geofencing, what are, you can check all of them or one of them, but what are you doing to post your jobs? Give you a second here. I'll put mine in there too. And anybody out there, are you using social media outside of LinkedIn? Okay, all right, so great. So Amy says yes. All right, radio, wow, okay. All right, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, geofencing plus radio. Wow, okay, I love it. I love it. Okay, pretty awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So that's really interesting because we don't realize how much we're being marketed to on a regular basis, but there's so much data out there that says that we're used to it now. Whether it's your phone that is going off, every few minutes, or it's an ad that you see as you're going about, or you hear it, or you're watching something. So yeah, we're always being marketed to. And I always say, as a recruiter myself, I always say, you all are probably going to laugh, but a bad day for somebody else at the workplace is a good day for me. So that's usually when people will apply and they'll consider your ads. So yeah. Next slide, please. All right. So Mike, one more question for you. So, what are some of your top recommendations to your clients on how they can put together attractive benefit packages? And this is something that we hear a lot from our candidates that are, like you mentioned earlier, compensation isn't everything. Sometimes it's overwhelming, right? I'm going to give you a $20,000 sign-on bonus and I'm going to promise you all these things, but at the end of the day, it's more than just income. So, what are some of the things that you're recommending?
Yeah. So Cindy, I would say it's twofold. Um, the first thing that an employer needs to look at is really their core benefit offerings and making sure that they are offering as much as they can, within budget, obviously. But you have to have a good core benefits package just to make sure you can attract and retain sort of like the broad workforce. And some of the things that are included in that is a good 401k plan with matching and possibly profit sharing provisions. You want to make sure you're offering good health insurance benefits, which include health, life, short and long-term disability, dental, vision, etc. Offering an HSA and possibly contributing to that HSA. Those are becoming more and more popular and can be utilized in many, many different ways. Voluntary benefits offerings are also a very good way at either low or no cost for the employer to add more benefits and more value to their workforce. Some of these voluntary benefits can include critical illness. It can include cancer insurance. It can include group whole life insurance. There are many different voluntary benefit offerings, and just having the access to these or the availability to enroll, even if they are completely voluntary and employee paid, the employee gets the perception that, wow, here's more benefits than I've ever had access to. You also want to make sure that you are rewarding your top or key employees. So setting up things like deferred comp plans, executive bonus plans, key man insurance, things like that, to where you're saying to your top employees, like, we really value you. We want to keep you here. And those are the things that we've done within our own practice, but we're also recommending to the employer clients. I would say outside of benefit packages, and I'm sorry, was this a follow-up question, Cindy? Okay.
Go for it. You've got it.
Okay. So outside of your traditional benefit packages, there are also other programs that I am seeing employers implement that they can offer to their employees. One thing that has become very popular is a college reimbursement and or loan repayment plan. I mean, as we know, student loan debt, and if you were to look at the total amount of that debt, I believe it's number 2 or even number 1 now in terms of the type of debt that our nation is carrying. So if an employer is offering either reimbursements for college tuition or assisting in loan repayments, that can go a very long way. One thing that I also highly, highly recommend to all employers is have some sort of financial wellness education that is being performed within the workplace. It's one thing to offer great benefits. It's another to educate your workforce on what is available, on how to use it, on what else the employee should be doing outside of their employer to really make sure that all areas of their financial situation is being taken care of. This is something that our firm has been doing for over a decade, and the perceived value from the workforce, I can't tell you how many times the employer has come back to us and has said, thank you so much for coming in and providing that valuable information, we're just getting incredible feedback. So doing these things that are over and beyond the traditional benefits packages, it's really necessary in today's environment, because it shows that you really care about your workforce and their well-being.
Definitely, absolutely. And I think it goes to what we were talking about earlier is so many people are reevaluating themselves, their careers, their families, what life, the value of, that they bring to their life, but also, their career and where they work. And so having, someone like yourself to educate the staff as well as the company on, what is available to them. Many people kind of block it out when you talk about retirement. They're like this, I don't want to deal with it until I'm 50 or 60. And then, by then, you've missed out on so many more things than just retirement. So thank you for sharing that. That was really amazing. And I think a lot of people are missing that portion of an attractive package. In my old HR days, I used to calculate like all the different things that we would do, and I would put a value to that. And people would say, well, I'm only making, this amount. But then when they looked at it, it was like 3 times bigger than everything, because sometimes we have to be reminded of all the different things that, are provided to us when we work. So you just did that by sharing what a lot of companies have been doing for a long time, and some hopefully will make that choice as well.
And Cindy, to that point, the education piece, it can really highlight to the workforce that like your employer is providing these great benefits. They don't have to do that. I mean, I work with individuals and I see individuals who don't have hardly any of these benefit offerings. So to have someone come in and educate on what is available, it also showcases that, we're providing these benefits to you in addition to your income. And once again, it's perceived value. And it's like, wow, I should be really thankful that my employer offers these things to us.
Definitely. Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. I think we went into our next question. I think we already answered it on the next slide. And, but any other ideas or thoughts that you wanted to share as it pertains to programs?
Not so much programs. I'm really excited to hear from Anna because she is dealing with it day in and day out.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's
Right.
get in here.
Okay, awesome. I think we might have another, nope, we don't have a poll question. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful colleague and recruiter, friend, if you will, in the field, and very, very excited about hearing from Anna Leash. And so Anna, as a talent acquisition specialist, and I know your industry is construction, but you've got a varied background in different industries. I know you're seeing a lot of open positions stay open much longer. What are the types of challenges that you were seeing in your industry?
Yes, thank you, Cindy. I've been a recruiter for almost 8 years, and I have never seen the amount of positions open for so long. We're talking that 9 months, sometimes closer to a year. And if we think about what's happening right now, there are about 1 more million positions available than people looking for jobs. So if you take a look at that number, it's like we are trying to survive and stay above water. But some of the things that I have experienced, and some of them already Mike mentioned, the pandemic, and we all know what's happening with the pandemic, but it's keeping people out of jobs. And one of the reasons is the unemployment benefits that these people are receiving, where they are giving them an opportunity to take a step back and say, well, what do I want to do, right? They want to reevaluate their options while they're getting the unemployment benefits. So that's something that I have seen happening, and I have a feeling will continue happening for a while. The different expectations of life and lifestyles that now these candidates are looking for, they're not willing to compromise again their lifestyles. The people that went into a remote work during the pandemic, a lot of them work very well for them. I mean, Mike talked about going from 2 incomes to 1 income, where they're moving to other states where the living is more affordable, where yes, 1 income will be okay. So their lifestyle is going to be much better for them. So again, less and less people looking for jobs. But then you also start looking about the fact that the people that are looking for jobs are in a state of mind where the recruiters or the companies are the ones that have to do all the work, right? So it completely did a 360 on us, where in the past I could sat back and post the positions, and then the resumes just will flow, and I will review the resumes and whatever I need to do. But now, I mean, we have to be rehiring people that have left, reaching out to people that decline offers in the past with better offers, and changing the way that we're approaching the market. It's not about the money, and everybody thinks it's about the money. It is really, it has nothing to do with money anymore. Nothing to do with money. But the candidates, when they apply for a position, they're actually taking longer to even respond to the recruiter. It's not happening the same day like I used to see it before, when a candidate hears from the recruiter and gets so excited and said, oh my God, let me just be super available for them, and whatever they need, that's done. That's not happening. Here you have to be the one that is flexible. You have to be meeting their standards, whether is virtual interview. I'm willing to meet you after hours. I can only meet you during the weekends. These things are happening, and us recruiters and companies and hiring managers, we have to be flexible to meet their needs. And we're not. I don't think we're ready to make a full change. We're working on it, but it's very difficult to change the way that some people go about recruiting and looking for their top talent. So that's some of the things that I'm seeing right now that are very challenging for me. I also see, and I don't want to jump into the next question, but I also see a lot of people want to have access to the opportunities with a mobile app, right? You want to have that ability to apply for a position in 3 clicks. There's no more of, let me wait, let me just apply for a position and let me fill 3 pages. That's, you are never going to have a person now these days applying and filling out a 3-page questionnaire. That's over. The position should be in 3 clicks, where you put the most important information, your contact information, and upload your resume. And that's all they're going to do. And they should be able to do it in a mobile device or in their computer. Because again, there's many companies that are not mobile friendly yet. So if you're not mobile friendly, you are really behind the ball right now. So that's some of the things that I'm experiencing.
Yeah, definitely. I see it too on my end, where we will represent a client and we're talking to the candidate and they applied for the position, or maybe we call them and interview them, and it may take a couple of days before they return, you know, the call or the email. And then on the flip side, we've seen where employers, like you mentioned, aren't ready, and, you know, they are having very lengthy application process, you know, upload your resume, fill out these questions, and all these other things that we want you to do specifically so they can capture the data, but they're losing the attention of the candidate. They're like, too hard, I'm going to go somewhere else. So,
I'm not saying that that's wrong to collect all this data. Of course, we need to collect the data, but let's do that after we win the person, right? Let's get them to have an amazing candidate experience, and then we can deal with filling out paperwork.
Exactly.
Yes.
I love that. I love that you mentioned candidate experience, and I know you're all about that. So we'll get into
Yes.
that in our next slide.
A few slides from that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So our poll question, how many, oh, I'm sorry, this question should have been with Mike. So we'll come back to that one. So next slide. All right, so how have you had to educate your hiring managers about why positions are taking longer to fill? Because I'm sure they're calling you and asking you, we've had this open now for, 2 weeks. So what's the deal?
Yes, it's difficult. It's
Mhm.
difficult because that's not their job to begin with, right? They're busy with their own jobs. So when they rely on me to
Mhm.
present top talents for their vacancies and this not happening, they're on the phone like, what is happening, Anna? What? So you have to step back and educate them. It is my responsibility to educate them, but first I need to educate myself, right? So I need to see what my competitors are doing. I need to see what's trending right now, and then bring all that information to them. Some of them are more open than others. Some of them it takes time to kind of change the way we are doing things, because it's going to affect them. They have to spend more time dealing with these candidates, when in the past you can leave it up to the recruiter to do most of the interviews and the logistics. But now the candidates, they want to hear from the hiring managers more than ever, right? They want to engage with the hiring managers. And if you don't have engaged hiring managers, you're going to lose the candidate in the first interview. So I have explained to them the Great Resignation, right? The backlog of people that are thinking about retiring, and Mike mentioned this. I mean, there were so many people that were thinking about retiring before the pandemic, but they were holding off. They were like, I don't know if I'm ready. But the pandemic gave them the go, right? The pandemic told them, you know what? Yep, it is the time to retire. And they did retire. And that goes across all industries. Because I recruit for construction right now, construction management. And my hiring managers were asking me, well, is this happening just in our industry, right? So no, it's happening everywhere. People are completely burned out. They don't want to go back to do what they were doing in the past. Yes, it gave them the salary that they need to do to be able to live and move on with their lives, but that's not important for them anymore, right? They're changing careers, they're changing industries. The pandemic gave them a time to kind of just think about what is it that makes them happy, and might talk a little bit about this. But going back to where they were before is not an option anymore, right? So they want to be more flexible. They don't want to decide in a really quick decision, just to say, you know what, all these recruiters are reaching out to me where it never happened before. Like, what is happening? And they push them back because they're burnt out, and that's not really what they want to do. So the hiring managers keep asking me, well, what are we going to do, right? What are we going to do about this? So it is important for them to understand that they have to be flexible. They have to, at least the hiring managers that I deal with, and many people that I have talked to them in the past, they like the face-to-face interviews. They like to shake the hand, and they like to see how they react in person. That's all news. You have to really be flexible and open to do virtual interviews, and virtual interviews that may happen during the weekends or after hours. And hiring managers usually like to have 3 interviews. The rule of thumb in the past used to be, you have to do 3 touches and interview 10 people before you decide who you're going to bring into this position. That's not happening right now. If you wait to interview 10 people, you're going to lose them all. You're going to lose them all because there's somebody else more aggressive trying to make a decision really quick. And by the time that you get back to them, they already accepted another position, because we don't have a lot of candidates that are just waiting and making a decision and let me think about it. There's a lot of candidates out there that they're really looking for a position and they want to work and they want to work hard, but they are looking for specific things that their employer is not offering right now. So being able to be flexible with the interview process, approach the interview in a more behavioral way. So a lot of the hiring managers tend to ask very technical questions. They just want to know, can you do the job? The job duties that are posted in the job description. And yes, that's really important, absolutely. But how about the other side of the soft skills, the things that you can teach? Those things are so important to bring to your company for your culture, for your mission, for having the loyalty that you're looking for right now, that if you're not incorporating behavioral questioning, you're gonna lose that person, because you're not gonna be able to engage with that person and be able to dig a little deeper into what this person is looking for. And at the end of the day, you're gonna provide something that that person wasn't looking for. So you're losing the person again. Let me see what else I have in here. I think that's all I have for now when hiring the educating the hiring managers on how to deal with the process.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. You gave us a lot of great ideas on looking at it from the candidate's perspective and not just so much has changed in a very short period of time. So,
Yeah.
It used to be, like you mentioned, we could post a job and then we would get like 60 or 70 resumes and we would go through all the different resumes and the hiring manager would ask, well, what can you do? But now what you're saying, and great advice, is that you have to showcase what you as the hiring manager will be able to do for that candidate, so that they can see what type of leader you are and what type of mission that you have for the team. Because if you think about it, and I think you alluded to the fact very well, Anna, is that most people resign because of a bad manager or because of bad communication, or
Absolutely.
something was promised, right, and it was never delivered. So all of those are great reasons for hiring managers now to say, let me show you what your life will be like if you work with us, right? Versus, just like you mentioned, asking just the technical questions. So thank you for that.
The interview process, when they meet with the hiring manager responsibility is to show the culture, the mission, the vision of the company. And that's really, really hard to explain. So you really, really have to find ways on how you can show what this company is about. You have to engage the candidates during the interview. It cannot be a one-way conversation. So providing criticism, providing feedback during the interview is going to be very important. And I think the candidates are going to appreciate that and will remember you, that you took the time, that you were involved, that you were engaged. And I really feel that this is the time where the hiring managers should be more involved in the recruiting process. And I'm not talking finding the candidate, it will help. But I'm talking more about after you have that interview with them, call them, make a personal call. If you really want that person, make a personal call. At that point, they don't want to hear from the recruiter. They want to hear from you, the person that is going to be reporting to. They want to know what you're going to offer. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about career development. I'm talking about team-oriented. I'm talking about flexibility. And in the past, the hiring managers, they didn't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good point. I think
Mike has a question.
Yes.
Not so much a question, but Anna, you brought up a really good point. I had a meeting with an employer client, and they shared with me that we have the work, we don't have the people. So I asked them, what are you using primarily to advertise these open positions? And they said, well, we use our website. And I said, okay, great. What else? And they were like, oh, indeed, you know, the traditional ways. So I went to their website and I had trouble finding where their job openings even existed on their website. So that right there was a red flag, if you will. I'm thinking, like, if you have job openings, that should be on the landing page on your website. Like, if that's your biggest pain point, like that, I would think that it should be on the landing page. But then when I went into the actual job openings and looking at the description of the company, all it did was talk about the company and how great the company was. It did not give anyone, any candidate, like any motivation as to why should I work here? And I think it's back to what you were talking about earlier. You know, prior to COVID, recruiting was very easy. You know, you could just post a job and all these people would apply, and you just had to spend time sifting through resumes. It's different now. So you can't just talk about your company. You have to communicate to people why you should work here. What makes us different compared to our competitor down the street.
And Mike, I'm glad you're bringing this up. This was part of what I wanted to talk in the next slide, but I'll talk right now. Right now is so important to partner with the marketing department. HR and marketing department they have to be on the same page. Right now, marketing has to concentrate in how are we going to share our values, our mission, how we help in the community. And it's not going to be with words. You have to start using videos, testimonials, and you have to do it in a way that is attractive to the candidate. Don't fake it. You have to just show who you truly are, because if you're trying to show something that you're not, what's going to happen is, yeah, we hire the person, but we're not going to retain them. And that's a bigger problem because we already spend money. But what happens is, if we were to have, and we did this with marketing, we reassessed how we were posting the positions. And now we have videos of our top talent employees asking them questions. Tell me what you do. Tell me the day of the life of blah, blah, blah. And they're awesome. Those videos are awesome because it shows you what you could be doing. It's pretty much you. You want to see yourself in that person. And if we're not doing that, then if we just post in the position with the name of the position and then the job description is so boring. It's not attracting you. It's not candy to the eyes. It's just not the person that is really looking for a job is just gonna pass your job description and your position because it's not attractive. So it's very important. You don't, and again, the HR department doesn't have to become all of a sudden the marketing experts. That's why we have a marketing department, right? And if you don't have those skills in your company, then outsource them. But you really need to change the way that you're approaching your candidates. We're changing our website, more about why do you want to work here? And telling you why. And it's not just the benefits. It's a lot more than that. A lot of people want to be involved in a company that gives back to the community. So show that. A lot of people want to work in a company that is going to be an opportunity to have career advancements. Show the career advancements, show the career paths. It is so much we can still do. And I'm hopeful that whatever is happening right now is, I don't think we're ever going to go back to where we were, but I think we can make a change, and we can make progress by changing a few things. And yes, you have to invest money to be able to do all of this. But it's good to invest at the beginning, so then you don't have to worry at the end of getting clients and getting work because you don't have the employees that you need to be able to facilitate those opportunities.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of employers kind of miss that part where they say, well, I'm spending all this money, I'm investing, which you're right, it is a great thing. But the other part is that if you're selling, products or your services and you can't deliver, then that's really not good. But I also think that it costs a lot to replace a person. It's over 20 grand to replace someone. By the time you advertise, by the time that person is not working, someone else is filling in the spot. You have to hire somebody, you have to outsource your recruiting, what have you. It can be costly. So those are great things to consider as you look to retain. So next slide. I think we answered this next question, which is a little bit about the recruitment process. And what I love that you mentioned, Anna, about, having the 3 clicks or the 3 touches, right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to add on maybe ways that you've had to either change or shorten your recruitment process?
Just 2 things that have been working really well for me before, during, and after the pandemic. I will continue doing that. I will rely on my employees, our loyal employees, to provide feedback via Glassdoor and LinkedIn and Indeed. Because when you're looking for a position, everybody goes there to look at the reviews. So like, rely on your people to help you providing that feedback. And don't approach them in a way that says, please write nice things. You don't have to do that. It's not okay to do that, in my opinion. Just tell them, if you're comfortable, could you please review the company, and just leave it up to them. Now, the other thing that we do is employee referrals. We rely heavily on employee referrals now more than anything, but we also incentivize them. We just increase our bonus structure because it's not their job, but we need their help. So whenever they recommend somebody, it's their name on the line. So it's not like I'm getting hundreds of referrals every day. Not at all. These people are very careful who they're going to bring, who they want to work with, because they're going to end up working with them, and making sure that they're bringing top talent. But a lot of people are going back into the events, face-to-face events, and more being involved in organizations. So that's always an opportunity to remind your employees, bring your business cards and talk about the positions that we are needing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we've got a couple more questions for you, Anna. Next slide, please. So I think we talked a little bit about this, but I'd like to kind of go a little bit deeper when you're having your candidate interviews. What are some of the wishes and demands of some of your clients that they're asking for, that your candidates are asking for?
There's one that I was very, I wasn't surprised, but I didn't get this question before. Wellness. What is your company doing? Wellness in the workplace. What are you doing? And that question, I didn't get that question before the pandemic. So they want to know if the company is helping employees with stress, with uncertain situations. Do we offer specific programs? Do we pay for certain classes? They want to make sure that they can have a flexibility, forget the 8 to 5 hours. I mean, they're hard workers, but they want to make sure that there's some flexibility and understanding. Be more empathetic, right? When with situations, and they want to know if that's something that we are willing to do. Yes, a good compensation package is always great, but they're more concerned about their growth and what kind of training and development opportunities are we offering for them. They want to be autonomous, they want to be creative, they want to be part of a team. So they're going to ask questions like that to the hiring managers. Those are pretty much, those are the things that I'm hearing candidates asking for.
Okay. Yeah. No, likewise. Yeah. I love the fact that you mentioned wellness, and especially now, I think, and we've talked about this in our planning, but amongst the 3 of us, is there's such a huge shift and spotlight on mental health, where before it was like part of your benefit package, but like buried in
Tiny?
your, right, in your, in your whatever health insurance package you would get, and no one really talked about it.
We
but,
didn't even talk about it during orientation. It was just like a given. Yeah.
Right. And you didn't even know, like, okay, can I go somewhere if I need to talk to somebody? Or so now I think companies are realizing that, we're still dealing with work-life balance, and we have a pandemic that we're still part of. And so, like you mentioned before, we will never go back to the way it was. We may have some aspects of it, but maybe not quite the same. And so people have to understand that wellness, work-life balance, which you mentioned, as well as mental health, support, asking, like, I think you and I had talked about this before, are you okay? Having check-ins regularly, one-on-one between your peers as well as your supervisor, your manager, to ask that question, because so many people are buried into the work that they're still carrying the things, like they've got to pick up their child, but how do you pick up your child who's sick at school and you're still at work, and how do you have those conversations when you have deadlines? So these are things that people need to hear and talk about, and it needs to be normalized. Instead of like, it's got to be, like,
oh, taboo.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So I think we have one more question.
Yes.
Which is, and this is a big one. What are some of the retention strategies? So we've given a lot of tips. We've kind of dug deep into your knowledge of attracting the talent. But what are some of the things that your HR team is doing to retain your current staff? And I know you've got great ideas, so I'd love for the audience to hear them.
So I would like to go back to the hiring managers. Right now, we as a company, we have to concentrate on at that level right now. We need to train them, educate them. Like we were talking about wellness, they have to know and pay attention to signs, nonverbal situations happening with their employees. They have to be able to give them that candidate experience that we promised them, right? And we all know that people quit people. They don't quit the company. You can have an amazing compensation package, you like the team, but if your supervisor is not engaged and is not providing you guidance and feedback and opportunities for growth, you're gonna leave, period. You're gonna leave. So right now, all companies should be concentrating at that level, the hiring managers, get them strong, get them ready, get them, some people are not empathetic. This is a time to be empathetic right now to your team. And that's probably the most important aspect of retention right now. Now, also increase your budget. You have to increase your budget we talk about marketing, but for your internal, to retain your top talent, for training and development. If you have a very small budget for training and development, these people are going to leave because that's what they want. They want to learn, they want to grow, they want to be somewhere else in the next 2 to 5 years. They're not okay to just stay at the same level for the rest of their careers. We don't see that ever happening again. You need to be flexible with their needs. You need to listen to them. And a good way of how to listen to your employees, especially when you have a lot of employees, create focus groups, right? You need to create focus groups and involve your leadership team, because it has to start at the top. So listen to them in those focus groups, assign a leader, listen to what they're doing, but then follow with actions, right? If you put a focus group and you listen to your employees and you don't do anything, that's worse than even creating a focus group. So if you're willing to create that opportunity for your employees, then you have to follow up. Absolutely. Another thing is create interest groups. In the past, maybe you didn't have that. We created now different opportunities. We have the women's club, the the African American club, the diversity club. Like we have different groups that you can feel part of it, and you can feel that you belong. But if you don't have those, you probably made a really good impression during your interview, and you hire the person, but they might not stay because they don't feel that they belong. Have managers to have more face-to-face meetings with their employees, more touching points, more often. I know we always talk about the millennials. They want feedback every day. Well, guess what? It's not just the millennials any longer. Everybody wants to know how they're doing. Everybody wants to know if they're making a difference. And and it's an opportunity for the hiring managers to know what is it that they're looking for, so we can provide it to them and not lose them. So the other thing that I think is really, really important that we're doing is stay interviews. We always do exit interviews, right? People are leaving and we're like, is there anything we could have done better? Well, too late. They're leaving. There's nothing you can do about that. So stay in interviews in a 6, 1, 3, 5 year. Listen to them. How did we do? We do a lot of surveys. I create a lot of surveys after I do any contact with a new hire. So I do a survey about my orientation. How was the process? And I want to hear back, because if I see something that could be improved, I'm going to go ahead and improve that. Then I have a focus group about, no focus group. Then we do stay interviews about your hiring managers. Then we do stay interviews about the compensation package. And then we keep asking questions at different times in their careers. And obviously, if you're going to approach them, you better make a change, right? You need to listen to them. And again, like I said before, take some actions. A lot of the times, the stay interviews are a little scary when it comes from the HR department. So I think it's important for the hiring managers to get more involved in those stay interviews as well. Develop individual plans with your employees. Individual development plans, right? So professional goals. Where do you want to be the next year?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I think you should do. And then check back and make sure that they're following on their conversation. I think that's about it. I talk a lot.
No. That's a lot of great goodness right there, because I think a lot of, people are like we mentioned, this is a big shift in a really quick amount of time. And so, something you mentioned, what I love, which was the stay interviews. I love that.
Glad I didn't forget, because it's so important.
It is, because you can turn around somebody's opinion immediately. They may be thinking, well, they don't call me for any special projects. I haven't heard anything about, possible advancement or the course I want to take. And so someone comes to you and asks you, how are you doing? And, a stay interview and really gets involved. That could be feedback that you can, put forth an action plan immediately to change that person's view, but also to change your own view. And, could be great feedback as a leader, but also from your HR department as well to hear. So I love the fact that you mentioned that you also ask for feedback, because I think that as, we're recruiting and we're, going in to hire, we need to know about that candidate experience. It's not just something to put on your website. It's a real thing. People want to know, and it can make the difference. So thank you. You gave us a lot of great information. No, I'm really, really grateful for that. So I think we have a poll question coming up on our next slide. So in the chat, if you could let us know, maybe all of these are applicable, but which of these things is your company focusing on? Employee engagement, experience, attraction, retention, well-being, psychology, safety. I mean, all these are important, but which ones are you focusing on now? We'd love to hear from you in the chat. Anna says all, right? Yes, all.
But if you're missing one, you better get working on that.
Yeah. Mike says employee engagement and retention. Yeah. Amy says all. Yep. Experience.
Great.
Engagement. Yep. These are all great. Yep. Engagement and experience. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And keep sharing your ideas. The other thing that I think you alluded to this really well, Anna, is that, performance appraisals, a lot of times we dread, and the HR, team dreads hearing about, increasing the amount, and the hiring managers too. But, if they're once a year and that's the only time you check in, you might lose
That's a
people.
problem. So we actually remove them. That's something that we decided to do. We don't do performance appraisals anymore. What we do is you have to check with your team constantly. And we have a software that we purchased where it gives you an opportunity to key some information. There's a few questions that they ask you. It's like in 3 seconds. I mean, it's so quick. You can do it on your cell phone. And say you go to the field, you meet with one of your lead superintendents. In my situation, you meet with a lead superintendent and you see that they did something really well, or they handle a client really well. You're gonna forget that in 1 year. Definitely. You will not forget if they do something wrong, but the good things you are going to forget. So this software gives you the opportunity to just write something to yourself. You can also spark the person and say, hey, great job on this and that, whatever. But at the end of the year, you can look at the entire list of things that you put in there, whether are constructive, wonderful, bad, whatever it is. But then it gives you an opportunity to then summarize at the end of the year. Because it's not fair to just remember the last month before your performance review.
Exactly. Thank you. So we have a couple more things we wanted to share. On that note, something that one of our partner organizations to the Central Maryland Chamber is doing is they're having camera off Fridays. I love that. So any meetings that we have, nobody has their camera on, so that you can feel comfortable to wash the dishes and still, participate, right, with your laptop right on this, on the
Wearing
counter.
your pajamas.
Right, in your pajamas, or, and if you want to, you can, but it's the culture is changing. The other that I heard from another organization or member company is that they are mandating jeans or sweats that day, in person. So, that they're able to dress very comfortably or wear their favorite sports team. So there's Jersey Day. So those are some of the things that will make it a lot more easy, even especially if you're used to wearing a suit or, pantsuit, dresses, whatever, every day. You look forward to those days of comfort and of change as well. And let's see, Christy says your IT department doesn't like, yes, you're right. Yes, you're absolutely right. No laptops at the sink, near the sink, maybe. Right.
I guess if you have camera off Friday, you can wear or not wear whatever you'd like.
That's right. That's right.
Also highly encourage people to have webcam covers.
Yes. I agree with you. I've heard some stories for sure. Olivia, if you don't mind going back, and I hate to do this to you, but to slide number 10, and it is a question that we wanted to ask about analyzing, there you go, benefit packages. One more, I think it's one more. There you go. Analyzing your benefit packages. How many of you have done that in the last 12 months? I know we did. Yep. Anna says yes. Anyone else? Yep. Christy. Yep. Great.
And Cindy, about that, I think we sometimes think that we know what our people need because some other people are doing it, but we need to listen to what they need.
Exactly.
and then make changes.
I
Because
love it.
not every company is the same.
Yep. I love it. Mike,
Now,
as
to
go
add,
ahead. Go ahead.
the best time to do this is when you are not having any issues with your benefits. So I hear a lot of times is like, oh, you know what? Our benefits are great. We're happy. But that's usually the best time to do it. Do
Yeah.
it when you're not having to deal with any specific pain points because you don't have any pressure in doing so. And you
Yep.
can focus on it.
No, that is great. I was just going to ask you, from your expertise, when do you suggest that people, but you answered that question. Mike, as we close out, what do you suggest people do first if they are analyzing their benefit package?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say what you should do first because there are renewals and things like that that an employer has to consider. So, if there's some sort of renewal period, try to do that analyzing maybe 3 months prior. In terms of a 401k plan, a lot of people think analyzing a 401k plan is very cumbersome when it's really not. In all honesty, any financial advisor that advises on 401k plans, the only thing that they need from the employer is a census. They need a 408B2 fee disclosure, which your record keeper can provide you, or you can go into the plan sponsor website to obtain that document. And another thing that is good to see is just the plan document itself. With like those 3 simple pieces of information, someone can do a benchmarking analysis. There's typically no cost to do that benchmarking analysis, and it's very easy to do. And it also keeps you compliant when it comes to the DOL.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, look, I've had someone look at this. So it's an easier exercise than most people think. And then also like adding voluntary benefits, you can really do that anytime. You don't have to do it in conjunction with your other benefits, although a lot of employers do like to do it. That way, everything's sort of happening at once and it's not kind of staggered throughout the year. But yeah, like do this stuff when there are no issues.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Mike, do you mind putting your contact information in the chat? And Anna, the same for you. I know, Anna, you probably have job openings that you're trying to fill, and maybe somebody knows of someone or they themselves might be interested. And Mike, I'm sure people are walking away saying, I need to analyze my, my benefit packages, or, just kind of beef up what we already have. Or maybe just change their advisor. I think that's also something that we should look at. I am going to say thank you to my 2 colleagues, and then I'm going to turn it over to Christy to close this out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Cindy, Mike, and Anna. We will also be sending a follow-up email to all the guests who are here today and were registered with a link to this seminar. So if you missed something or you want to refresh, you can certainly go back and watch it again, and all the contact information for our speakers. So we'll make sure you get that just after the program closes. And we do have a library on our website of past presentations just like this, and they were all recorded and they're free to watch when it's convenient for you. So we have tons of great topics, from COVID prevention and vaccines and things like that to HR issues, social media for your business and things like that. So make sure to check that out. And we do hope you'll tune in for our future events. The schedule is on our website, which is centralmaryland.org. A couple I'm going to mention real quick before we close. We do have our Women's Leadership Happy Hour this next Monday on the 15th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Turf Valley Resort. So we hope you will join us to network with women and men in leadership and learn more about the Chamber's new initiative we mentioned earlier, which is our Women's Leadership Roundtable. Next week, we also have another coffee catch up, which are our morning networking events that travel from member to member businesses, so we can learn more about all your fellow members' operations. The next one's on November 17th at Nina K Photography. She is actually the Chamber's photographer and just opened a new photography studio in Savage Mill, so we hope you can join us then. And then also next week on Thursday, the 18th, our Regional Economic Development Committee is having an apprenticeship event at Howard Community College. So you can learn about how an apprenticeship program can help your business and strengthen your workforce. And last but not least, please save the date for our big holiday mixer and silent auction. That will be on December 8th at the Great Room at Savage Mill. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. We will be celebrating the holidays together and catching up with friends and colleagues. Some of the proceeds of that event go to the Central Maryland Chamber's Educational Foundation, and we give out scholarships to local high school seniors. So it's a great event for a great cause. Thank you again so much to Cindy, Mike, and Anna for a great presentation. And I do encourage you to reach out to each of them to follow up and schedule one-on-ones if you'd like to improve your retention efforts and make your business even stronger. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.